Hi there and welcome to my studio. My name is Gideon, also known as Gideonslight, and I am a creatively fit coach. Come join me in my studio as we play and have fun at the canvas and in our art journals. What are you waiting for? Here we go. Right, I'm back. I just had to wipe my fingers on my baby wipe, and you can see how potent the inks are. I literally wiped some of the droplets from my wax paper before I put my art journal down, and it stained this baby wipe with the beautiful ink. So don't throw this away, because you know what, this, when it's dry, makes the most amazing material that you can print with a stencil on your on this material, and you can cut it out, and it does make the most amazing collage material. I used it on one of my previous numbers on this page. Let me just turn it quickly and show you. So this little flower here is literally a baby wipe that I printed one of these flowers on one day, and discovered what an awesome element that can make. So I'm just using my wax paper here between my pages in order to protect them while they dry. And I've brought to our collection here some of the tissue papers and other papers that I created, that I've showed you before, that I want to use now to complete this first page in my art journal around the theme of my Bali trip. So I just used one of those papers to cover up another previous exercise that I did in my junk journal. I quite like the layers that is happening, and you can stick your papers down with ordinary glue, but I do prefer to use a good acrylic matte glazing medium. This is a gel medium. This one is thicker, it's almost like glue, so for thicker pieces that need something a little bit stronger, I will use the gel medium or PVA. But otherwise this acrylic matte glaze medium just works fine. So whatever glaze medium you have at hand, I do like the brush effect, so I like to use one of these brushes just to apply my glazing medium. But before we get there, I thought it is time for us to just work out some of the issues that I have. So I've got a little bit of a page sticking out on the side there, so we need to deal with that. I've got a whole thing surrounding this page that needs to be dealt with, and I of course want to have one of these doors as the focal point of the main design. So I thought I will cut it out, and then we can decide later if we want to tear it or how we want to add it to our collage to tell the story about the secret passageway, the secret door that I found at the Royal Gardens. It's one of the places we visited in Bali. I must just look again exactly where that was to refresh my memory, but that was quite a lovely day I spent with my husband, and this garden was so big that we explored, with beautiful pools, lots of fish, and fountains and things like that. And then as I came around the lotus pond, this beautiful door, red door, greeted me. And what I'd done is I took the photograph and I used some deep, what is it called? It is a new AI technology that I discovered, Deep State. It's called deepstate.com. You can find it on the internet, and you can upload any photograph that you have, and then you can combine it with either another person's style or a texture, and then it will fuse those images together and create something new. So this is what I did with my photograph, and it created this beautiful painterly expression of this immaculate red door that I want to play with. So this definitely needs to be on our page. So one of the advantages of some of our tissue papers is when you apply them, they become very see-through, and the actual print that you have stands out a lot more. But the choices we have, of course, is unlimited. So we need to see how we are going to incorporate some of these beautiful images. Ooh, I quite like that. On the side there, using the white of the paper to make this peacock and those beautiful leaves of this tropical plant stand out more. It's almost like a delicious monster. They were also all over the island of Bali. So I quite like that. So I'm going to use my watercolor pen. It's just a brush and the little container is filled with water. And I'm just going to roughly go around these other images, and just, it gives me a beautiful clean tear so that I can remove the elements that I don't want, and we can put that aside, and we can see how we can play here using the paper there, and then this will just beautifully blend. It will see through and incorporate that background. I quite like that as a plan. I do feel this page is quite dark. I think we need a little bit of contrast. So before I put this down, let's put that aside and first see how we can lighten some of that background up. And I think what could work very nicely here is maybe some of this beautiful paper. Seeing that we still have to deal with that side, I think what can be interesting is if we create another layer on top of this. This is the fun part about art journaling, is you can just figure things out for yourself as you go. So without sticking anything down yet, let's just get a vibe of how this will feel. I think I would love to use this tissue paper somewhere. These beautiful colors are just so reminiscent of the peacock feathers and the colors of the forest, and I did this with phthalo green, phthalo blue and gold, one of my gold acrylic paints, and I did this on my Gelli plate, and I will show you how I did that in another episode so that you can also begin to play. There's another thing that we can do here to bring some light into this area. I think that can be interesting down here. So let's just fold it like that and just see. I don't want to overthink these things too much. might look on the underneath, it might look nice with a tissue paper over it. That could work. What do you think? You guys are welcome to let me know in the comments. I actually quite like some of that over the top as well. Quite like these colors. I want to bring in the red somewhere as well to just repeat some of the red. So I think like a zone like that has some of the green and some of the red. And we're going to fold that as well. Let's just get a vibe for it. There's no right or wrong. That looks nice. And then I think we can play with some of these tissue papers. Remember, that's going to be very see-through. I think we have a start, so that might work. I think I'm going to tear this paper as well so that it's not so square, and we might soften it by adding some of the tissue moments crossing over it. I think that might be nice. So let's put the rest away that we're not going to use, otherwise we get so confused. Oh, and I forgot about this beautiful blue. Oh, we have to have some of this somewhere as well. Okay, we'll see. Let's first start on one side. I'm going to put these elements aside for now, and I think this can be interesting if we use this in a way to break that up. But how am I going to do that? This is a thinking process. Definitely have to tear it. Let's do it like that and see. Like that. Because now we can always cut the excess off the page after it's dried, but I quite like that edge. So let's put that aside. I don't want to overthink too much in my journal, because I think that is part of our creative block sometimes. We overthink and we undercommit. So I don't want to overthink. I can always come back and play with these things again. I'm just going to move my journal a little bit to the left, if it will allow me. There we go, just so that I've got some space to paint here. There we go. So I always like to have a little bit of a spot somewhere where I can apply my gel media. You can just put my brush aside. And a little bit does go a long way. I tend to overdo it a little bit, but do give it a good coating. So have you guys been to Bali? Please drop a comment and tell me about your experience if you've been to the beautiful island of the gods. And I would love to hear what you experienced. Maybe you had some of the monkeys jump on you. That was probably one of the more traumatic experiences that I've had in Bali, but today it's part of the story I can tell. I think it was our third night in Bali, and our friends at a very late stage of the day of doing not a lot discovered that we can go to one of the temples that is right on a cliff. just outside Seminyak, and they do their traditional fire dance thing there. It is spectacular at sunset, and this dramatic showcase with this temple in the background was just absolutely phenomenal. So we jumped in a taxi, just got there in time, but unfortunately the fire dance section was already sold out. Let me see where we are going to use this. I think I see it down here, but this is almost looking more interesting for me, but at the same time this can also look very nice. I think this blue helps to bring some of the blue over here, so I'm quite liking that. So I'm just using the page to fold the paper so I can see where I must tear it, and then I'm going to use my ruler. So while I do this, let me continue to tell you the story of what happened to us. So we decided not to stress. We're at the temple now. We might as well enjoy the temple grounds and watch the most incredible sunset over the sea. This whole temple complex is on a cliff, so it's quite a high cliff, so it feels like you're soaring over the ocean, and this most incredible hues of red and orange and gold that was just washing the entire scenery with beautiful color was entertaining us. And of course the architecture, the garden, it's so beautiful. But if you've been to Bali, you will know that there are temple monkeys. Monkeys is a big thing in Bali. I know it's probably all over in the east, but that was a particular thing. They do revere the monkey as a sacred animal, and part of their spiritual understanding of the environment. So the animals are protected, which is great. And just going to pull this in so that we have a nice clean finish here. Let me just use my old credit card to just bring it into this nook and cranny. Forgive me if I'm shaking the camera. And then I'm just working out the bubbles as I smooth it down onto my page. So anyway, we enjoyed this beautiful sunset with quite a lot of people, and we were wearing our sarongs to show our respect to the worshippers that go to the temple. In Bali, you can't go into a sacred space without putting on a sarong over your lower body. That's both for men and women. And we were taking photographs and just chatting with everyone. And I remember some of my friends got lost in the crowd, and I was so mesmerized with this beautiful sunset, taking photographs. And I was noticing the monkeys coming closer and jumping in the trees. And I've watched a number of tourist videos that warned us to be careful with your camera and your sunglasses and your spectacles if you have any, because they like to grab them, and then you have to negotiate with these monkeys using food in order to get your stuff back if you're lucky. So I was very aware of this, and the next minute we heard a number of screams and alertful cries, and we saw these monkeys literally grabbed another lady's cell phone as she was taking photographs out of her hand and jumped onto the roof of the temple. And as it went, it literally chowed the cell phone, and you saw it split into 1,000 little pieces. That poor woman was devastated. So yes, I just put my cell phone away and I started to pay a little bit more attention to what's around me, but it was too late, because before I realized it, one of these monkeys was right next to my face. There was a little tree on the other side of the wall that protects you so that you don't fall over the edge of the cliff, and I didn't see this whole bunch of monkeys there, and the next minute they jumped onto the wall right next to my face, and this monkey grabbed my spectacles off my face and disappeared into the trees. So that was so distressing, because it started to get dark and I couldn't see so well without my glasses. So my husband ran after the monkey, and I was obviously a little bit more distressed because we just got these spectacles, and we were still paying it off. So that was so stressful. I thought, oh well, the rest of my holiday I won't be able to see much, so I'll just have to make peace with it. And yeah, that was not very nice. I'm just thinking now what we're gonna do here to bring these two pages together. I think I should make this cross over to that side. So I'm gonna tear it here. I want it to be uneven, so it's not too square. I quite like the black and a bit of the green there, that I can cross over, and I think I must soften that edge as well. So one of the temple guards saw all of this happening, and they are prepared with little parcels of food with them and whistles, and they know how to deal with these animals. So while I was sitting on this staircase weeping because I just lost my glasses on day 3 of my holiday, on my honeymoon in Bali, I'm going to put some there as well. The good news is they coached this monkey, and it finally dropped my glasses on the floor, and they gave him some food, and my husband and the temple guard was able to retrieve my spectacles. But now this is all part of the story, because what had happened was, without me knowing, my husband had popped the lenses that fell out of the frame because the monkey was chewing it. I literally had bite marks in the frame and in the lenses. They popped the lenses back into the frame, but the left side was on the right and the right side was on the left, and I didn't know this. So needless to say, very grateful that I got my glasses back, my spectacles. I can see again, but when I put them on, of course I couldn't see a thing because it's the wrong lens for the wrong eye. So nobody could understand why I was saying I can see even less with the glasses now than before. And everyone just thought it was me being in shock and being a bit of a drama queen, and we needed to get home and find one of our other friends that got missing. So this was now a very distressful sundown moment at one of the temples in Bali. And we finally got to our beautiful taxi and our hosts, and we got in the car and we took the long drive back to our beautiful villa. And as far as we drove, I was just so perplexed, because now I've got my glasses back, they're okay, but I can't see a thing. My little doggy is enjoying the story as well. So yeah, needless to say, we went to a shopping center the next day, and there was an optometrist, and I didn't want to take the risk of covering or pushing the lenses out and maybe cracking the frame or something like that. So I just lived with it for a few hours, and the next morning when we went to the optometrist, they were so friendly and professional and compassionate and empathetic about the situation that I found myself in. They took the lenses out and they corrected the problem for me, and that solved the problem and I could see again. So then the rest of my beautiful honeymoon and holiday in Bali could continue without any further distress or worry about that. But you know, now I have this very interesting and fun tale to tell about our holiday in Bali. Just want to lay this tissue down nicely on the edge there. So if you have any fun stories to tell me, it doesn't have to be about Bali. Any of your holidays where you had an interesting experience with either an animal or a force of nature that you didn't reckon with, that maybe caused you some distress or something to laugh about, please share your story with me. I would love to hear, and it's always fun to tell these stories. It's like sitting around a campfire and telling our tales of travel. It's always interesting afterwards. So don't worry about any pieces that is sticking over, that is flapping over. Later, when everything is dried and all nice in place, we can just trim it off, so don't stress about that. Wow, this is coming together quite nicely. I think I'm quite happy with this page. Now this beautiful doorway, I quite like it, but I don't like the hard edges. I think that looks a little bit contrived. So let's stir it. Let's just stir it so that there's a bit of an edge to it. I quite like a bit of that white showing. So one of the tricks of tearing is if you tear it towards yourself on the image facing you, you will have this white edging that can be interesting as a design element. But if you don't want to see that white edging everywhere, turn it around and then also tear it towards yourself. But now you will have the white of that paper on the underneath, so that gives you a little bit more of a cleaner edge. That could be interesting. So I'm going to do the same this side. You see? So now we have this door, white line. So I think we must have the white line on top here as well. So now it's almost like a highlight on that side and nothing on that side. So I quite like that. So if we place our door there, remember this tissue paper is going to go very see-through, almost like we did there. So we will still see everything on the underneath. I think I must use some of this in an interesting way. I'm going to tear it. Let's use that watercolor paper brush. I want a diagonal piece like that. so that it's not so square. Quite like that. That's interesting. That's nice, and then we can add some more elements maybe there. So I quite like that, so let's put the glaze down. So this is a nice way to develop your creative mind, your right brain. Just playing with your junk journal or art journal or travel journal, and just allow yourself to just play and express and not worry so much about is it right, is it wrong, is it looking good. I think if you stick to a color palette, it's not too hard to make a success of it. I just want to use my credit card scraper here in the middle, just so that that is nice and snug there, and then we can work it out like that, just so that we don't have unnecessary bubbles. I'm going to add a bit more. So your acrylic matte medium that I'm using here dries completely see-through, so it won't affect your artwork that you are gluing down, except give it a layer of protection. So this is probably my third collaging junk journal, travel journal attempt, and I promise you, as you go and you keep exercising and you keep trying new things and you keep adding interesting paper to your collection, you will just get better at it as you go. So be very gentle with your tissue paper. Once it's wet, it becomes very fragile. So as this gel medium seeps through, it will dry completely clear and you won't really even see too much of it. So I quite like this painterly effect. I think we need a bit more here just to make sure that there's no air bubbles. Gently press that down. So I would like to invite you guys to join my creative group on Facebook. It's a private group of mine. It is called The Creative Heart. I will add a link to it in the description of this video. Please join us because we do share a lot with our community there, and it's just a supportive place where we all experiment and play and exercise our creative mind and activate our creative heart through whatever medium brings joy to you. Some people just paint, other people bake. So it really doesn't matter what your focus is. But I do share a lot of my creative insights and workshops and special moments with my tribe on my Facebook group. So I think that's one of the good things about Facebook that we still have, is our beautiful groups and communities. I think Facebook is moving a lot towards that at the present moment. So you can never have too much creative friends in your life. So feel free to join us, and I'm also on Instagram. Find me under Gideonslightart, and you will see some of the things I share over there. So I'm going to let this dry, and then I will come back to it and see how we can bring this all together, if it needs anything else, what it will look like. So I'm just going to use these clamps just to clamp my pages down so that it doesn't curl up so much. So it just helps them to dry down a little bit flat. That one seems to be cool. Yes. So I'll see you now when this is dried, and then we'll wrap up this first collaging page. So the page is dried fairly. I used my hairdryer on it, so it's still a bit tacky, but it's dry enough for me to continue. And I feel that we still need a little bit of detail here to just bring the elements together in some way. So I'm going to come back to this tissue paper that I used on the other side. I quite like the way that that communicated some of the beautiful plant material and tropical vibe from the island of the gods. So I thought of using this peacock here and then some of those leaves. So again, I'm going to use my watercolor brush and just work around these elements and just allow that watermark to tear organically away. Let's put that aside. And I think this will be quite interesting if the peacock comes into, it sort of leads to this doorway there, and that will be completely translucent. And then to just use some of these circles, I think maybe 3 of these circles in the zone in the middle to just connect with some of the red that we have over there. And I'm going to remove that as well. Let's see how that works. You can see it makes your life a lot easier by just using that water brush to tear the tissue paper so that you keep the parts that you are interested in and not tear too much into that. Over there, what do you think? Because I want to just break some of this horizontal line here, so I thought if this red sits there, I'm still feeling like we need a bit more, so I'm coming back to this page and I'm wondering if I use a little bit of it coming down this page with that on top of it. I like that. Okay, so let's see how we can tear this. Interestingly, I want the brown at the bottom. I don't want straight edges now. I like that because I don't want to lose any of that. And there's this blank gap here, so roughly about here. There's this bit of a foresty tree-like vibe there. Yes, I like that. I like that a lot. And then we can place that element on top of it. I like that. Let's commit. Okay, so like I said, I don't want to overthink my collages too much. I just want to have fun and create beautiful moments that I can enjoy when I flip through my art journal, and just be reminded of these special moments in our lives that happen, and we need to, what shall we call it, immortalize it in some way. I think is we used to have photo albums, and it's sort of gone out of fashion because everything is digital now. And so that joy of sharing photographs with family and friends at a braai or a party or whatever the case may be has somewhat gotten lost, and I think that's sort of what Facebook also tried to do, is make it accessible for family that's in other countries, family and friends, so that we can all share in these moments. So now for me, like I said, I've had these photographs of Bali for 2 years in the cloud, and I've not printed a single photograph to put in any album per se. So I think this way, it's a way to celebrate and honor these memories, and what a fun way to share. Later this can become maybe a coffee table art journal that you can page through with friends and celebrate these beautiful moments. Let's get this element down as well. I'm just gonna put my medium here. I think we need some on here as well. Gonna work here on the side. Forgive me if I'm a bit off camera. I'm just spreading the medium. I want to see some of the white there. I just want to break this horizontal line here. This has been so much fun. On Sunday, we are having our next painting in the park event, and my husband and I are both creatively fit coaches, and once a month we offer a painting in the park workshop where we use the creative coaching methods combined with a bit of life coaching and some stoic attitudinal adjustments and reinforcements to help people remember that we are resilient beings, and we use our art processes to celebrate that and bring that awareness to our participants. So this Sunday, 6th of March, we are going to the Botanical Gardens in Pretoria, where we usually host this workshop events, and we're going to be painting some otters and remember how to be playful. that looks lovely. I quite like all these layers and textures and yummy moments that remind me of my beautiful trip to Bali. And I will definitely be printing out more photographs and editing them and sizing them to the correct size, because there's a number of occasions and special moments that I want to remember in my art journal. So join me again for another episode next week when we explore another scene from my trip to Bali with my beautiful husband, and I will see you guys in my studio again for that session. So remember to subscribe, hit that like button, and tell me in a comment below what you think of today's art journal and any other stories that you would like to share with me. I'm looking forward to it. So thank you for spending time with me in my studio today. I will see you guys real soon again. Stay well, stay safe, and be creative. Bye bye for now.